Alright, let's just get started. So, I haven't done a podcast before, and I was just listening to one that Devin Townsend did yesterday. It was about deconstruction, and I've been meaning to try out a podcast for a while, because it just seems very helpful for what I'm trying to do, and, okay, just move forward. Music means so much to me, and I think it does for everyone else too. And it seems like it means different things for different people. For me, it seems like it's interesting in that it's a creative endeavor where, to me, the music itself is what makes it interesting. And then now with finding things like what people like Devin do, where their journey is the music as well. So, make sure this is recording. Yeah, okay. First time doing this. I'm just outside in my car. Hopefully it's not too bad audio. Probably is, but need to start this, so whatever, it's fine. Yeah. So I'm just gonna go through all my projects and kind of feel like what each one was about. I'll preface it with we got an iPad mini, the first generation. Yeah, so super old, like iPhone 4S chip, I think. And got GarageBand on there. And for me, it was just really fun to just create things. Like, it was so easy on there to just make things that I enjoyed. And the concept for me was like, it was cool because I enjoyed it. And I knew it wasn't like perfect, but it really represented what I was really happy with it. So I don't know. Well, I do know that's what it was. That's the statement. That it made me happy. So, move forward. And I ended up having my own first iPhone, which is iPhone 5C, which is not very good on storage or processing power, but it works for what it does. And of course I had the 8GB model, which is a lot of fun. Because if you wanted to download a new app, you had to delete another one, or if you wanted to export a project with GarageBand, say if it's just like M4A file, it would be too big to export. So I'd have to move some of my project files over to a different device in order to export the new song that I had finished. It's kind of bonkers. And it was like these limitations that really kind of made things interesting, because I wanted to make something and I had to work around getting it to work. And that's always been really fun for me, trying to figure out new ways to do things. And that's also been kind of part of the process too. So I have, right now, this is 2025, March that I'm recording this, and I have say from 2015 or so, I have this folder of demos that I did before any of my current albums. That was before I wanted to make albums. I was just making projects and stuff. I'm about to release that pretty soon, just because it's neat. I kind of want to include that in the history of everything. But so yeah, back in 2015, crazy that's 10 years ago now, but there's just these GarageBand projects with the MIDI synths and drums and the GarageBand guitar, where you can kind of just tap things out. I wasn't even necessarily recording with my own guitar in GarageBand at that point. I had an iRig, but I didn't have enough confidence to record my own songs because I didn't think that it was what I wanted to achieve, if that makes any sense. I hadn't quite found how I could use my guitar to do what I wanted to do with it. I'm still doing that now, but I'm further along in that than I was back then. I'm so nervous this isn't recording. I'm like that with my Strava runs too. Gotta check if it's still going. Alright, I think we are good. Yeah, so I have these projects, and they're kind of just experimenting. It was fun to try and make different things, and they meant a lot to me. And a few of them got lost to the fire, because I don't know if I was oh, these aren't cool, I'm just going to delete them, or something like that. And I'm bummed that I did that, because there's a few projects that I really like, but I deleted for some reason. I don't know why. And that's a whole other story, but yeah. So things that mean a lot to you that for some reason you deleted just because at the time you didn't like it. I don't recommend doing that, and now I never do that. If it's a demo, I always keep it in a folder, even if I know I'm not going to use it on the album. Like, I just don't delete things now. It's not because I want to hoard them. Like, I'm literally just, like, done with them. Like, but now I'm seeing it's important to be able to catalog that kind of thing, because if you don't, there's no way to get it back. Like, you can only remember it. So even if it's something you don't want, you want to make note of it, because then you can reference it again later. Like, you don't want to have just a catalog of things that you felt successful with. You want to have things that you can see how you've grown. And that's a great point, actually. That's a big point for what I've been trying to do with music, too. Okay, back to, so 2015, we got those demos. And then I started experimenting with the GarageBand loops. And I was like, oh, I can make like a little project out of this. And that was 2016, Made in America. It's always a fun project. And I kind of grabbed that hot rod image from Google, I think somewhere. There was a few iterations of the artwork. One was just completely unaltered. The next one was like hand-drawn with the iOS markup tool, and I like drew an American flag. It doesn't look very good though, because it was literally just like the pen tool. It wasn't even like Photoshop or anything nice, but that one's kind of cool, like neat in concept. I still have it, but yet again, I didn't use it. So the artwork you see now is kind of just like a change of the original, where it was just the original image, and then I added like a filter and like the name. And the only reason I use that font is because I was using, yet again, the iOS editing app, and there's only like 4 or 5 fonts you can choose from. And I think it was Georgia or something. I'm nervous it's not recording. Okay. And that's the only reason why it's like in the corner like that, and why it's that font. And that ended up becoming my thing, like unintentionally, just because it was another limitation. So you can see like plenty of my staple things are because I found a limitation along the way, and that just became one of my things. That's kind of how I find things to pick up on. Yeah, so most of Made in America is GarageBand loops, which, looking back now, I'm like, oh man, I wish I did like more original stuff. But like, at the time, that's like all I knew how to do. And with that in mind, I think it does really good at that. You know what I mean? And I was really happy with that. It was kind of, it was like the tail end of when people in school, because I was in middle school, I think like 7th grade at the time, middle school, and people were listening to like Skrillex, and my friend had just shown me this guy called Excision, this dubstep guy, and that stuff was like interesting to me at a musical level, and almost at like a comical level, because the first song was Robo Kitty, and it was like this like dubstep thing where he's like Robo Kitty, and he's like and like it wasn't really like my genre, but it was really interesting to me. And I think that was one of the first few things where it was like my own music discovery, outside of like things that my parents had listened to or in their library. Like, it was, even though I hadn't found it, like my friend showed me, it still became one of my things, you know? And it was really intriguing to me, looking back on it now. Like, well, it still is, but that was like a very first staple thing, where I was like, oh wow, this is like my own thing that I have. And it only lasted for like spring break or something like that, because I haven't really picked up that much of that kind of music again. It was just kind of a little fluke thing, and that's always how it goes. But yeah, so I think that, coupled with experimenting with GarageBand, was like, oh, these loops kind of sound like this new guy I found. It's like, oh, maybe I can make a project too. So that was kind of how that started, just kind of, let's mix it up. Okay, a little hark back to the name airBnaodn. That's how you say it, yeah. airBnaodn, or airBnaodn, it's kind of like that. airBnaodn. It's my name, Brandon, and it's basically this, essentially, cipher that I came up with when I was that age, where I was like, oh, I'm going to make like a secret language, per se, like in quotes. And I was like, oh, I wanted to code my own I didn't know how to code yet, so that's another interesting tangent. But in the neighborhood, I would play this game called Ninja. And I basically, because I'm an only child, I'd kind of like always entertain myself. Like I'd be playing Legos or listening to music or playing Minecraft. I would go around the neighborhood like pretending to hide from people. And it wasn't like a game in like the strong sense of things. And it wasn't like hide and seek, because it wasn't like someone was seeking you out. It was just kind of like, oh, I'm going to go around the neighborhood and see if I can go unnoticed. Which is interesting also now, just because of how I am as a person. But yeah. So I'd go around just like hiding in the bushes and like running around like, oh, I'm going to find these like hideout spots. And then I'd kind of like trim the branches a little bit in our neighborhood and like hide in the bushes and be like, oh, this is this name spot. And I would tie this into when I would be making maps. I made a map of the neighborhood, and like each of the sidewalks had like a street name, because why not? And then like each of the hideouts would have like a number. So I was like, oh, let's go to the headquarters, like 35 or something like that. The numbers were usually based on the address number of the building. So if it was like, oh, apartment 5, that would be like, oh, it's next to 5. So it's hideout number 5, headquarters. So this kind of like independent, like hiding in the shadows kid, kind of nerdy, but just because he didn't know how to talk to people, he was making music with loops. That's the context of this. And then Vine was also around, and that was like a big thing for me looking back now. Nothing is really, well, like Instagram stuff now is kind of funny. Like there's a lot of good funny stuff, but it's just too much, like it's a little overbearing. TikTok I haven't even tried. I'm like, that's way too crazy. I just want to stay away from like ego stuff nowadays. But yeah, so Vine was just like simple, short humor, and I think that really made an impression on me. And it kind of was the last song on Made in America, the self-titled Made in America. It has like this funny sample noise. And I think that was like one of my first intentionally funny projects to some extent. Like maybe there's a few funny ones, but I remember specifically setting out like, oh, this is going to be a cool beat, and then like the dubstep beat drop is going to be funny. And I don't know if when I showed it to people, like they didn't really get it, but for me, like it was exactly what it needed to be. And that was like awesome. You know what I mean? And that just means like a lot. Okay, we're doing pretty good. So yeah, like I'd go around and like there's a few people I played with in the neighborhood, like my neighborhood friends. And I showed my friend Ash the song. He thought it was pretty funny. Stuff like that, So that was kind of just the first of the official releases, 2016, Made in America. Further along in 2016, I wanted to make like a more serious project. Like relatively. I was like, oh, I want to make like a cohesive like statement. Not like publicly or anything, just kind of like, oh, I want to make like a cool song. So that was Ultimate Chaos. And it's also, it uses the loops. And I tried to work more on, not intentionally, like I don't think I knew much music knowledge back then, like in terms of like structuring songs or mixing, like any of this. I was kind of just making it with my ear, which is how it's always been, but now I can articulate it looking back on it. That's what I'm doing right now, because I did not know the scope of things that I do now. And so yeah, so I'm looking back on it now with these eyes. That's how I'm describing it. I had made it, I didn't have specific goals for the projects. It was kind of like, oh, I'm just going to make folders of songs. And this one kind of felt like it was a one-off, so that's why it's like one of my only like singles in terms of like a release. Like I made this song and it didn't really fit into the one before it or after it, so it just became its own thing, Ultimate Chaos. The picture with the piano on it, I had this electronic keyboard in my room, which I'm bummed that I don't still have, because I didn't get into pianos and stuff, like keyboards, and because I didn't play it for the longest time. And now I'm getting back into music. I'm like, oh, I know that would be older now and maybe like outdated, but having that would be so great, because there was a bunch of samples on there that reminded me of like that time, you know. And I never recorded anything, even though I was using GarageBand at that point. But that's what that picture is. I kind of just set my phone up like diagonally, and that like the dust on there is literally, it was because it was dusty because I hadn't been using it. And then I used like a filter and put like the name on there and stuff. Carried over that same font because that was what I was doing on the previous artwork. And that one I was really proud of. Yeah, not too much to go into that one. That one I like to share to people too because it was really cool. It was kind of proggy of like, not instrumentation or writing, but it was a long song, like it's almost 7 minutes long. It goes into like a horn section. There's like a different beats in there. It has like fading in and out. Like you think the song ends and then there's like an encore. And I was really happy with that. And I'm still really happy with that. And I still kind of do that kind of playing around with the song structure today. I think just because it's interesting to me. And then I think we're on to 2017 now. So this was 8th grade. 8th grade was interesting now too, because looking back on it, senior year for me in high school wasn't what I thought it would be, let alone because of pandemic, but 8th grade felt more like senior year to me than senior year did. So it kind of means a lot to me that period of time. And I feel like I was more close with people then too. Like, even regardless of pandemic or not. Like, just people at school, like, I would know them. Like, there's like the few people I hung out with in the neighborhood, like I had been mentioning. We'd hang out at school. We'd play Minecraft and that kind of thing. So I think middle school might have been more close for me. At least earlier part of high school was definitely more closer knit, as well as middle school. But like late high school, like it kind of started to diverge a little bit. I felt like probably pandemic, because that was like a sledgehammer to the plans of everything. That's a cool lyric. How are we doing a recording? 20 minutes almost. Bro! Alright. Septem Numero, 2017. This one, it's weird. Like, I wanted to be more experimental with it. And I don't know where this came from, because I don't think I had listened to any music like this before. Maybe, like, at the time I was listening to Crystal Method. Let me go... I'm going to open up my library real quick, because another thing about me is I very value music that's your current inspiration, as well as when that was and how that like fluctuates over time. So this has been interesting to reflect on me. I've been trying to find more about this with other people too, like what their influences are, when they found certain albums, what albums they went to next, like this kind of thing. It's almost like a big data outlook on music learning, if that makes any sense. That's always been really interesting to me, because let's take a step back a little bit. Okay. Scrolling through my library, sort by... Oh, it doesn't work. Wonderful. Okay, whatever. So let's say 2017. That's pretty much when I started my own iTunes library. I copied some of the songs over from my dad's library, because that's the main one that I would sync my iPod from, because yes, I had an iPod Shuffle. Still have it. Still use it. It's awesome. Highly recommend. I want to get a new one though. Like, but there's no alternatives. That's a whole other story. Some of the projects that I copied over, it's like Tool, 10,000 Days, Anthrax, Worship Music, Pink Floyd, Wish You Were Here, Snarky Puppy, We Like It Here, Pink Floyd, The Wall. I think it was just the first CD though. Pantera, Vulgar Display, and then new at the time for me, The Crystal Method, Vegas. This might be the closest inspiration I have to what Septem Numero sounds like, because this was what I was listening to then, and I think what I had wanted to make might have been inspired by that. Maybe even Made in America at the time. I don't think I had found that yet, though. I don't think I had found Crystal Method at that point. Also around this time, the Aristocrats, my dad had just found them, and I'm so, that was one of the biggest things that moved me forward in terms of, music listening. I love them. They're so awesome. Tres Caballeros. Great album. Highly recommend, once again. Tony McAlpine, self-titled from 2011. That has Marco on it also, which I don't think we knew at the time, but I love the drumming on it. We had just started Jeeping a lot, and we took the new Jeep at the time out, and we had gone in the mountains. We were listening to Snarky Puppy, The World Is Getting Smaller, also a great influential one for me. I added a bunch of Seven Dust to my library. That's my dad's favorite band for the longest time. Metallica, Ride the Lightning. That one I listened to a lot during Made in America. Made in America. We're good. My guitar teacher's band, Primary Element, I had that on there. That was also interesting. I think it was influential, and to see he's a musician, he plays, and then he has an album. I thought only rock stars could have an album. You know what I mean? Same with Aristocrats. These guys are really great, and I've never heard of them, but they have music? That's cool. So that kind of thing. And then, listening to Snarky Puppy, hearing how the arrangements and composition for that was a great influence for me. That's way up there, absolutely. And then Dream Theater, Octavarium, that was a new album for us at the time, I think. I'm just listing things from when it appears my library was created, which was 2017. Rush Moving Pictures, I'd always grown up with that. Metallica, Master of Puppets, that's in my library. Probably bad to say. I haven't listened to the whole album all the way through that much. I know I know my favorites, Battery, Puppets, the song Thing That Should Not Be. Sanitarium has always been one of my favorites. But then tracks 5 through 8, I just haven't clicked with. I think I haven't. You listen to your favorites and they're okay, let's listen to a new album now. But I know that's a sin. I'll probably change that at one point, because I really love Metallica. There's just a few albums that are specific to me, Death Magnetic. I grew up with that one. At this point, Tool had started to click for me, so it was Lateralis. I remember this was one of the first ones from my dad's library that I chose to add to mine, and I added it to my iPod. I was listening to that with my earbuds on my iPod Shuffle at school. You could be doing let's do study hall, and then put in your earbuds, put shuffle mode on, try and see if you could find where Tool was in the set list, or the playlist, I mean. And then when you find it, then you'd go back to the start of the album after turning shuffle mode off, and then just listening to the album. And that was a great one for back then. That was 7th and 8th grade, I think. Seven Dust Kill the Flaw had just come out, I believe. Yeah, 2015. So that's relatively recent to that. Okay, now we're getting into my library just before high school. I think we're in summer now. So I'm going to bring it back a little bit, because everything I've listed thus far has influenced Septem Numero, if that makes any sense. Septem Numero kind of seems, so 2017. So I had finished it in June, it looks like. So most of the recording for it was from I think about March to June. And that involves the title song, Septum Numero, I wrote on the plane, if I remember right. I think going out on the trip, we did the 8th grade Washington, D.C., New York trip, capital trip. And that was an interesting time too. That was like when fidget spinners were in. Great time. That was before kendamas. That hadn't clicked in yet, I don't think. Oh wait, I might be mistaken. It might have been flipped the other way around. I'm getting old! Let me see. Yeah, so that's the scenario for that. Septum Numero, I kind of just started experimenting and making things that really made you feel, looking back on it now. Like I was like, I don't care if this is weird. I don't know what genre it is. I specifically remember not choosing a genre because the first 2 projects, Made in America and Ultimate Chaos, I marked them as electronic when I added them to my library to like play them and everything after exporting them from GarageBand. Yeah, I marked it as electronic. That just kind of seems like it made sense. And for this one, I was like, I don't know what genre this is. Like as a listener, I was like, I don't know what this is. I like it and it means a lot to me, but I don't know how to quantify it. And I kind of was like, I came up with this like name. I was just like, the genre for Septum Numero is static. Like that's just what it's called. It's not like it is literal static. But that's kind of what made sense to me. It was like, that's what it was. And looking back now, it's kind of like ambient and maybe soundscape in a way. But then there's also like electronic beats and stuff. And it's kind of like unhinged ambient, if that makes any sense. I still really like this sound. I think I started kind of bringing it back maybe the past year or so, like in reference to nowadays. I was like blown away. This album means like so much to me just because it wasn't what I expected. And it's really cool. And it's a bummer how tech kind of works because I exported them, like all the songs. I exported them as M4A files, not as lossless, because back then I didn't know, I hadn't listened to lossless music. I was using earbuds. I had like no reference to why lossless would mean anything better than high quality iTunes, if that makes any sense. So up until probably the past year or two, reference to nowadays, I had just been exporting as M4A files. So it was like lossy encoded exports for my final mixes, which is a very bummer nowadays, like looking back on it now, because some of those projects, GarageBand has had updates since then, of course, but the synths don't play the same as they used to back then. So now if I were to go back and export those songs in modern GarageBand, it sounds different. Like say if it's like the reverb or the actual how the synth will echo or what the main part of the signal chain is, like maybe I'm using too big words. I don't know if that's how you would use that term. I don't remember yet. But like say if it was like an ambient like there might be some kind of like random note that's like and it's like that was meant to be in there apparently, but the original recording doesn't have that because the original synth didn't have that either. So now there's no way, like realistically, for me to re-export those songs with the old GarageBand losslessly, because I've opened the song with new GarageBand and then it modified the original source. And then let alone I would need an old device on iOS that has that old GarageBand, and then I would need to open the project that I have with that old GarageBand. But you'd need to do like modify like the plist files or plist, I think it's actually called. I like to call it plist though. So it's just like a whole mess because the only actual copies of how I remember the song are the lossy encoded ones. I ran into this year as well, which is very unfortunate. I hope I didn't make that too loud. I just moved my computer. So, yeah. Long story short with that, always export as lossless. I know it sucks because it's like bigger if you have a small device. I think that's honestly why I didn't at the time, because the 8 gig limit on my phone, like I literally couldn't export songs because I had to delete the other projects off of my phone in order to export it. Like, that's mind-boggling. It's like, I'm going to export song 1. Okay, exported. I'm going to export song 2. Oh, I got to remove something. I'm going to remove song 1. So it's like you got to copy it to the computer. It's like this whole charade. So 8 gigabyte phone, don't recommend, other than for learning how to get over it. You know what I mean? Like, once you know what you're doing, I don't recommend it. But getting started, it's a great limitation to learn how to work around. Yeah, so Septum Numero and all the other songs before that, so Made in America, Ultimate Chaos, those are all lossy encodes of it. Some of the songs I've made, I think I'd mentioned this like a few minutes ago, but I deleted the source file, like the GarageBand project, because sometimes when you'd export a project from GarageBand, it plays different than when it plays in the editor, which is really frustrating to me. And I think I got so frustrated one time because one of my songs used the like FX like panel when it was new at the time, which is crazy how long ago that was. And it would play back differently in the bounce than it would when you listen to it. So I was just really bummed that like I couldn't export the song as I heard it when I played it. So I ended up just deleting the project. I was like, oh, this song just isn't worth it. I'm just going to delete it. But now I only have the broken encode of that let alone is lossy, but also sounds different than the original. So it has like all kinds of weird beeps and like blah. The main one for that is Level 1, the bonus track. I probably would have included that on the full album if it sounded like how I originally recorded it, but it didn't. So I just got so frustrated. That I was like, I deleted the GarageBand project. So let alone is there only a lossy encode of it, and it sounds wrong, but I also don't have the source material anymore because I got so frustrated that I deleted it. So that's the only version of Level 1 that's still around. And I think the main issue with that one was it went like, and it wasn't supposed to do that. It kind of just goes, but then like the FX panel like didn't bounce correctly, and it was just totally wiped out, and it was just completely different how it sounded, and it's just super frustrating. I think Gamma Rays, I don't know why I deleted the file for that, because the song itself I really like. It might have just been for space, because at the time I was like, well, why do I need the source material if I have the export? Like, that's done, right? Don't do that. Space saving is not worth losing the source material, because now you can never do it again. So, lesson learned looking back now, that's what the whole issue was. I think there's a few on Made in America that don't have it either. I don't have the source for Dark Noon. Well, no, I think I have Dark Noon. I don't have Drag Onward. I might not have Googleplex. Yeah, so some of them you just can't get back ever again because they deleted it. Long story longer, as I have heard. I think Devin said that too, which is accurate. So yeah, Septum Numero, very interesting record that I really like. Let me see. Oh, Deserted Cactus. I think that was inspired by Aristocrats. It was something on Tres Caballeros. but I don't remember which song it was. But I think it was kind of inspired by Marco in a way, but I don't remember exactly why. I didn't really pick out Marco on his own yet. I just kind of knew that he was like really good. And I was like, oh, this is cool. I'm going to do something like that. Yeah. What other things? Cascade and Conspiracy. That was like a last minute. I wanted to have it have a crossfade between the two, but I didn't know how to do that because I didn't know how to do the lossless thing. You know what I was talking about? So because I had lossily exported Cascade, if I were to import that into Conspiracy and then bounce that again, that would be a double lossy export, which you could like audibly hear, and it was very annoying. And I was like, I don't want to wreck Cascade for the sake of a crossfade between Conspiracy. So that was also a bummer because of the lack of knowledge I had and the tools, you know what I mean? Just because I didn't know what I was doing with the tools, if that makes sense. So looking back now, I also think I didn't want to pin Conspiracy on the end because it seemed like way too dark of an ending for the project, even though I loved how dark it was. I think that's like one of the scariest things I've ever made, at least like it was at the time. And it's like very scary. Like it seems like it kind of reminds me of in the Matrix when you're in like that weird, I can't remember if it's Matrix or I think Transformers 4 when they're in like that spaceship and there's like this like weird, they're like stuck in the goo or something. That might be Matrix or both of them, but like just like weird big spaceship, like scary, like civilization. Like that's kind of what it gave me the vibe of. Like I think we had watched Fire in the Sky on like a trip we did to our relative's house, and that was also like a very scary thing for me. I think I even like, yeah, I didn't like watch it. I had to like look down because it was just so scary. I don't remember like why it was so scary looking now. Like I might have to rewatch it, but that kind of like extraterrestrial like overwhelmingness of like unknown, that's kind of what that was supposed to be. Cascade was like the preface to that, and then Conspiracy was like the thing. Yeah. So whatever that like scary unknown feeling is, that's kind of what this album was meant to be. And then also just like mixed up with uncanniness for things like all about angles, pixels, Beta for sure. I really like Beta. That one's cool. Then Spectrum, that was summer after 8th grade. Kind of the tail end after Septem Numero. Septem Numero, that's a reference to, yet again, Tony McAlpine. He has that song on his self-titled. I think, yeah, Oluden is. Maybe Salar de Uyuni as well. But like that, using another language for like the name, that's kind of what inspired that. So that's why I use that. Okay, going back. Yeah, so mid 2017, Spectrum. How are we doing on the recording? 40 minutes. Dang, bro. Doing good. Okay. Spectrum. This was kind of a continuation of Septem Numero. Not like a sequel. And not like a continuation of the story. Well, kind of like if you were to wake up from that bad dream, where would you be? It's kind of like just like this nice, like, I'm scared, but I'm okay now. But you're still kind of not like fully escaped from it, you know? Still mysterious. And it's kind of like the last part of that story where it's like unknown, but then kind of like relaxing. I really like that project. That was really fun. I think I was continuing on like the experimental kind of thing. And then I had like less goals for making music after that point. Later on, this was November 2018, so it was a bit later now. That was Distant Utopia. I started making something that would kind of continue where Spectrum left off, but I was kind of like uninspired in a way. Like, I was like, oh, it's the same kind of spooky unknown thing, but like underwater, just because that's how the synths kind of sounded. So that's kind of what the project sonically was meant to represent, where it was like you find Atlantis and it seems like this nice place, but then there's like this scary undertone. That's kind of what that was meant to represent. And same with like Opposition. This was recorded as one song, but then it kind of meant to be two. So I split them apart after I exported it, which I also think was the double lossy encode, which is unfortunate yet again. I tried to fix this when I released this project on Bandcamp, but once again, when I exported it as lossless, it sounded different with the actual synths. So I just kept the double lossy Xcode. Dang. I need to drink some water, man. I'm all froggy now. Alright. This is not working. Bruh. Okay. So, I really liked where that was going, but I kind of just lost steam with it, you know? I was like, this is like the same thing. It wasn't intentional, though. I was kind of just like out of ideas. But looking back now, it's like I was kind of out of steam for that concept. So, there's a few other demos from about 2019 or so where I had started experimenting with guitar. And I was in guitar class at school, and it was like the classical fingerstyle guitar. I want to work to release those as well. So 2015 pre Made in America, I want to release the projects from that. And then also in between Distant Utopia and Alcosaurus, there's some like guitar experimentation where I just make more straightforward songs per se. I want to release those too, because those were part of the learning journey for that too. But yeah, so that's Distant Utopia, not much to it. It was kind of like a last minute, it meant a lot along the way, but it wasn't done really, you know what I mean? It's done now, but it never turned out to what I wanted it to be, if that makes sense. I just had to be done with it, which is a good thing to learn. Raised to Conflict. I wanted more to come out of this, but we didn't jam more. I came up with the riff. I think this is when I had started doing guitar stuff, like I had just mentioned. And I jammed with my friend Justin, the Daddy Wheathin, as he's on Instagram. He came up with that name during school. So this is just before junior year. And we had recorded this at his house. He had the drum set in his room, and I had made this riff, and he's like, oh, like, what riff ideas do you have? I was like, oh, I kind of have this one. It's like a weird time signature. We were both into, like, heavier stuff at that point, and kind of proggier. I think he was into, like, Gojira, a few different other bands, too. We didn't listen to too much of the same stuff. Like, anytime I'd show him, like, something crazy heavier, like, kind of weird, if it was, like, I think I showed him, like, Volbeat, or there was some other, what was it? Okay, I gotta find this real quick. Because there's a few things that I really liked at that point, but when I showed him, he wasn't totally into it. Like, he liked Tool. He might have liked Primus, I don't remember for sure. But he wasn't into, like, that weird stuff like I was. So, it might have been Animals as Leaders. No, I can't remember. Gotta scroll a bit more. Yeah. So, we have, like, out of all the people I know, we have the closest music interests. But it still wasn't, like, totally synonymous, you know? He's into more, like, lighter stuff now. Like, I'd say, like, he's doing, like, more, I think, Christian rock kind of things, which is really cool. And more, like, experimental, I think. So, instrumentation-wise, I think we both play similar. And we're, like, good friends and everything. We have, like, different styles, I think, though. I totally skipped over Teenage Supremacy. Our band, oh my god. Wait, dang it. I might have to, let me see. Okay, back to around Spectrum. I know it sucks to go back. So August 2017, I think, let me see. I don't like that we chose that name, though. There's a bunch of weird stuff that comes up. Come on, there we go. 7 years ago, wow. Okay. So May 21st, 2017, that's when it was posted. We had been rehearsing for, like, spring break, and, like, around that time, we played at the singer's birthday party. His name's Nate. Justin was the drummer. Devin was the bassist. Devin liked Primus. You can see he's wearing a Master Puppets shirt during the playthrough as well. Justin's wearing a Def Leppard shirt. I'm in just like a Volcom shirt or something. So I'm into like the metal, kind of like experimental stuff. Justin's into like the classic rock. Like, oh, he liked Foreigner a lot too. So Foreigner, Gojira, looks like Def Leppard. Devin was into like bass stuff. He really liked Les Claypool. Nate's kind of into like rap and hardcore and that kind of thing. And then we played Rage Against the Machine. So it was definitely an interesting lineup that we had. It was really cool. I'm so glad we did it. We only had the one show. That's the only recording we have of that. We have like a few videos from the jam sessions. Yeah, so it was like March, April, May of 2017 or so. And yeah, I'm bummed that more didn't come out of that. I think it was just a little bit like too many things going on. It was just one of those school bands, like local friends. Yeah, so that was around the same time that I was doing Spectrum. So it was kind of like clashing ideas, which is also neat. Like, I really liked the metal thing for that. And then the experimental project, that was like my main solo work at the time. Hopefully this isn't too loud in the recording. Come on, helicopter, what the heck? Bruh. Okay, I think he's gone. So, I remember I don't know if I ended up showing them that project. Like, it's out now and I could show them, but it just wasn't like the same vibe. Like, they weren't writing for the same concept of that. For me, it was always the experimentation of the music rather than like the exposure or like the gigging or getting to meet people, or like now that's interesting to me to some extent. But I've always been focused on like the experimentation of the music, like what the music conveys, how it makes you feel. Sorry, I have to fart. Hopefully it's not too loud in there. Oh god, it probably is. Okay, that kind of stinks. yeah. Okay, let's go back on track. So Teenage Supremacy, that was around the spectrum. Raised to Conflict, I played with Justin a little bit. And then there is like an explicit lyrics version that my friend Cody did when he came over for like the second jam session. Because, I'm trying to remember. I think we had like 2 different sessions for that song, for Raised to Conflict. Where the first one was just like when we did the music. The other one, like, we kind of changed the song structure a bit. Justin had some ideas for it, which I'm really glad that he mentioned that, because it definitely helped expand it a bit. Like the quiet part, where it had like I think it drops out and there's like only guitar and then it goes drums. That was his idea, because mine was just like to have it change through the parts. And yeah, so the first one was like the smaller recording. Second one was we changed the song structure. I think that same time was when Cody came over. And I kind of want to quietly release it because it had some bad stuff in it, which like I think it's hilarious and he thinks it's hilarious, Justin thinks it's hilarious, but like it's just like some sketchy words, and that always kind of like makes me feel weird. Like I don't want to like have it mean anything bad, but it's pretty funny, so I might release it as like a bonus for Raised to Conflict, maybe. Like maybe I can make it like an album and have like a hidden bonus track, or because it's funny. Like I really like it. And that wasn't the intended thing either. Like I kind of thought like he ruined the song. I was like, oh, like he's not taking this seriously. But like it really like took a new spin on things. I was like, wow, like this is totally something else now. And looking at it now, that's exactly what you want. Like it can't just be totally your vision, unless that's what you want it to be, of course. But like if you're going to work with people, you might as well embrace what we all bring to the project, if that makes sense. And if you're not looking for that, then, and I'm not saying that's like a bad thing or anything to not want that, but it's, I think Devin's brought this up before, it's hard to like play with people and not have them influence it too. Because it's not like you want to be rude and be like, oh, I want to do the control of the whole thing. Like you want to allow them to have their influence too. And you want to have that play between like your ideas, their ideas, see where it goes. But you do need good people sometimes to help fill out the idea, because you can try and do everything yourself. Like from personal experience, I try and do it myself a lot of the time, and sometimes it just doesn't live up to like what you want it to be, you know? And I think if you have other people, it helps bring that out. But it maybe fundamentally, like you have to, if you have to bring people in, I feel like you have to accept that they're going to have input. Maybe it's not so set in stone, like maybe they do just want to help you with your idea, but like it should be clear what the goal is for the project going into it. Ideally, like I know that doesn't always work out, and maybe it'll change over time or something like that, but like if you're gonna jam with people and it's specifically for like your own recording or something, be like, I want it to be this way and this is how it's supposed to sound, and like make that up front before they try and put in their own parts. Like you don't want to turn into a criticism of them. You want to make it up front, like this is the goal that I have for this, and whether you can help with that, that's one thing. It's not that they're like wrong for the project or anything. It's just like if that's not what they want to contribute, then maybe it's just not the right fit, you know? And that's okay. Because maybe someone else does just want to be like a session musician for it. But not everyone is like that. And same with like contributing. Like maybe some people only want to be session musicians. Maybe they don't have like the creative input that other people do. And I'm trying to think where I fall on that. I think I'm probably the creative input kind of thing. I want to be better at just playing for what people want, but I don't think I have enough like personal investment for that yet. Like I don't think I have the full ability to like unfiltered just do what they need for their project. I would like to be able to do that, and I want to learn how to do that. I think I need to do some work to get to there, though, if that makes sense. Because for me, my initial idea is to like help put in creative input for it, which I imagine other people like that too. So yeah, interesting thing. So Race to Conflict, that was around when I was talking about a few minutes ago, doing the recording projects like in guitar class. That's around the same time, so I have to release some of those too, because that sounds interesting to me. The pandemic hit. I think I had still been recording a few like the guitar songs. That's kind of when I started doing Allosaurus texts. Now, for me, this is like the first of my projects, I feel like. I don't know how you would describe that, because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The first 6 projects before Allosaurus, like, they're definitely me. And I definitely love the projects. But it didn't feel like the amount of depth that Allosaurus was. That felt like the first, like, full depth statement that I had made, if that makes sense. Like, I put a lot of work into that one. The whole goal of Allosaurus was to just have like a bombastic statement of like, if it's impossible to make the best album ever, it's probably also impossible to make the worst album ever. And this whole concept was like the spur for this. And maybe that's why this project was so like strong and influential for me, because it was the first that I had like a solid vision for what it had to be. And it was kind of like full in on like the experimentation from Septum Numero, but from a different angle. It was still full on experimentation, but not for the sake of like, what do you call it? I don't know how you describe it. It's like, how do I describe it here? I really wanted to see like, yeah, I think I just said that, like how bombastic it could be. It started with kind of just making a few silly demos, like Scary Trees was just like, I'm gonna make this weird idea. My parents have like this metal tree that hangs on the wall that's like this artwork, and when the airplanes would go by overhead from the base, it rattles the house, and it's like a specific frequency to where it shakes the painting, and it goes like, and you can do this yourself too. You can just like go up and like shake the painting, but like these metal branches are just like clashing against each other. And I just recorded this with music memos at that time, which is now I guess discontinued. And I was like, what if you like were to enable the guitar and bass track, bass and drum track for like a non-music recording? Like, what will it do? Like, how does it make music notes out of something that isn't music? So that's exactly like how the bass track and drum track came for that. This was 2020, I think maybe January or February, so just before pandemic. So it was kind of an outlier for Scary Trees, in that it wasn't like specifically Allosaurus, but it was the very early meanings of it, if that makes sense. And then Bus Blues, I think that was maybe like, let me see. Yeah, so we're talking 2020. Wait. Scary Trees was winter 2020, and then everything else was essentially 2021. Spring to maybe fall. All the way to fall? No way. I guess so, yeah. So winter 2020 for Scary Trees, and then spring 2021 through fall 2021 for the rest of Allosaurus. And the project was meant to be like very strong in what it was and unrelenting. Not to where it would get boring though. That's the only thing that was very hard to do. There's only a few songs that I kept out, like Infinitrack. Mostly anything that was on Corruption Junction. If it was too big for Allosaurus, it went on what would become to be Corruption Junction. And Infinitrack was just like so big. I was like, dude, this album's gonna be like suck to listen to. And that was one thing that I didn't want. Like, the album should suck, but it shouldn't suck to like experience listening to. Because there's a few parts where it does get like a bit mundane. I'd say that would be Wobble Fog, Clam Chowder, kind of Hazy Light. I like Hazy Light though. It's key to like what the album conveys. Wobble Fog, it's almost like too much. Like it just goes on for too long. Or Clam Chowder, it's like a little bit too removed. And it's like not weird enough. Those are the only two that were kind of like low on the rung for that album, I think. Waka Flocka Aquifer Chungus McFungus Overture. That one I recorded, I think, before Bus Blues, maybe? Oh, no, wait, sorry. I don't remember for sure. It was, I'm pretty sure, on, like, prom night at my friend Sean's house. We were there yet again with Cody, and we were recording this song on the electronic keyboard he had, funnily enough. And I think I had just started coming up with the concept for Allosaurus at this point, and I was like, dude, we should make like a song for that. And they're like, what is it? And I think they thought it was funny, like the idea of it. I think they thought it was like weird too, but I don't know, because that's not really their thing, weird music either. I think they kind of got it though. But yeah, so we like group made that song where it was just like going crazy on the keyboard. That seemed like that totally conveyed what Allosaurus was going to be, and that inspired me a lot. Like, it's almost like a pre-nostalgia kind of thing. Like, while we were there in that moment at his house on prom night, for me at least, there was like this underlying tone, just in general, not with them or anything. Like, I kind of knew, I was like, okay, this is like the end of an era. Like, we're all about to graduate. Sean's moving up to another state. He moved up to Idaho. Cody's going to go into the military. He ended up going to Colorado. And I was staying in San Diego. I was going to go to Grossmont at the time. And like, I just kind of felt like I was like, oh, this is like one of our last shebangs together. Like, and it was really nice, because it was really fun that it kind of felt like the leaving of an era, you know what I mean? But like, while I was experiencing it, I was like, oh, this is the kind of thing that I like am gonna miss later on. And that's kind of what Allosaurus was about too. I don't know if it's like letting go of things that you are gonna miss before they're gone. Like, say if it's like being in school, or like hang out with your friends, or just silly memes. Like, things aren't as funny anymore as they once were, just because you've grown up. And I think same with like video games. Like, I kind of had just like this feeling like, oh, the things that I love now aren't going to feel the same pretty soon, and I don't know why. And then like I also didn't know why that was the case either. Like, and it just kind of felt like it was like, okay, I don't know what's coming next, but this is like one of the last things, you know? And it kind of was. And I'm still trying to like find new things similar to that. And it's hard, like, in the adult world, now that I'm 22. Was I 18 back then? No way. Wait, 22, 23, 24, 25. 4 years ago. Yeah, I was 18. That's so wild. So it was almost kind of just like this inside joke. Like, Allosaurus is like an inside joke. And either you get it or you don't. And the premise for getting it is that there's nothing intentional about it. Well, I guess the only thing is that, like, the premise of what I mentioned, like, it's impossible to make a perfect album. It's probably also impossible to make, like, a horrible album. That was, like, the underlying, like, inspiration. But I think the joke of Allosaurus is that there's nothing to get about it. And that's the joke. That's what you have to get. So it's kind of like, it's meta humor if it were an album. And that's kind of what I was trying to make. I think I was into memes a lot at that time too. So like, if memes were an album, and it was just like some stupid, like, high school humor joke, that's exactly what Allosaurus is. But then I also had like some proggy stuff in it too. Like, it went random places that I had no idea it would go. Like Cab Crossing, it kind of feels like Steely Dan to me, like in some goofy, silly way. And like, I didn't intend for that to sound as cool as it did. And then like, I kind of just kept going, making songs until it felt like it didn't fit anymore. And that ended up turning into what would then become Flatlands. And it kind of started with, I guess maybe with Cab Crossing. Like, it just started becoming easier to make normal songs at that point. So it's like, oh, something changed. I think this is the end of the project. So it kind of reminds me of how Devin Townsend has mentioned in his podcast, that it's like a source of like water coming up. Like, well, I don't know if he's mentioned the water. That's kind of how I feel though. Like, you just have like these stream of ideas, and then you kind of catch them as you go, and whether or not you like them, that's kind of what you use, whether you keep it or not. And I think that's what I have been using for albums up to this point, is like, you keep recording until it seems like something has changed, and then you kind of change directions, if that makes sense. Hopefully the UPS guy isn't too loud. Let's see. I don't know what he's doing. What are you doing, bro? He's parking? Why? Okay, so I think my brain's running out of energy. My alarm's about to go off too, because I have to get ready pretty soon. I have so much more to talk about. Okay, let's take a break from albums for a bit. I might have just lost my train of thought. Yeah, music to me is about the experience, the experience of creation, not necessarily the experience of like hearing it. Same with listening, like I equate it to memories, emotions, that kind of thing. Yeah, I might have to call it after this one because I think my brain is turned off now. I did pretty good. I got through 7 of the projects or so, maybe 8, including Corruption Junction. Yeah. So we're leaving off for next time, probably with Flatlands, I guess. I don't even know how many more we have to go. We have so many more projects. Let me see. I might pause this for a second because I want to kind of recoup what I was thinking earlier. I'll be right back. Alright. And I am back. So, yeah, I've been meaning to record for a while, like in terms of recording this kind of like mental purging. I've only done one. Okay, I'm leaving off where I was before, so this isn't like a new day or anything. I just kind of had some pretzels and rethought a little bit. I've only recorded one of these kind of things like maybe 6 months ago. In like the middle of a song, I kind of just like randomly was like, oh, I'm just gonna blurt out all these ideas. The closest thing I have to this has been using my GitHub commits and writing my thoughts out there. That's been like really cool because like it's stuck in text in history, like history of like your actual projects. That's one thing that's really cool as a side effect of like learning how to code, is you can kind of just use it as like a diary. Like if it's like your own personal projects, what does it matter? You know what I mean? Like just write everything out, because then you can keep it over time too. One of my struggles with the last few years, I really have not liked the concept of streaming subscriptions and just like needing things in your life that are like a dependency. I think that's what scared me about trying alcohol, was because I was worried if I'd start it, then it would become one of my dependencies. Like right now, like I guess running music in terms of like writing and listening, those are like my dependencies, as well as like all the regular ones like food, water, sleep. Now I'm realizing that social connection is one, which is also lacking right now, which I'm trying to fix. Trying to meet new people. I want to find a girlfriend. But you can't just like make things happen. Like it has to happen organically, which I know that. You still get frustrated though, and you have to like remind yourself like things take time. Like you don't want to look for connections with the wrong people because you'll just have like broken expectations. You should have limited expectations in the first place. But there's also healthy expectations, which I think I'm trying to realize now too. Like you can have like a boundary of something that you're not willing to accept. Like that's okay. Like if you don't want to allow someone to get angry with you or something, like that's okay. You can just like walk away. Like just because you have expectations for how people should be, it doesn't mean you should let those control you. Like you can allow that to guide you as well. Yeah, and I've always been into iTunes in terms of like you purchase the music, it goes towards the artist. Maybe it supports like Apple Music or something like that. Like I mean like the iTunes store. Like whatever, that's fine. Like you buy it, you own it. Same with like the CDs. Like I'm getting into CDs now too. At least to some extent. I'm trying to find more. Found one like $1 at the bookstore the other day. It was super good. It was called let me scroll all the way to the top. It's called Orbital, and the artwork just seems super cool. And it's like this electronica thing from like 91, actually. Okay. I was gonna say 94, but let's see. And I don't like the idea, at least right now, like, of being stuck in a loop with something where, like, oh, you like music, you should subscribe, and then you get to listen to everything you want to. Like, I get why that's cool. But then, like, for me, there's, like, this whole other shadow of things that you have to deal with. It's like, oh, when you want to look back with your kids 30 years from now, Like, oh, check out the music I listened to. It's like, oh no, it's not on that platform anymore. Or like, oh no, that platform's gone. Or, oh, Warner Brothers took down the music. Or Warner Chapel, I guess I mean. Like, there's just so many factors that ruin, like, the preservation of things that mean a lot to you. There's that UPS truck guy again. I think that's the biggest thing for me. Oh, so that's what the connection is. So remember how I was saying before, like, you don't want to delete your demos even if you don't like them, because then you can never get them back. And to me, this is kind of like how subscribing to music is. Like, I know you get all kinds of music, but that only works for the now. Like, what happens when you want to show people music that got, like, removed or something? Like, oh, like, this has bad meanings now, so, like, it's canceled. It seems like cancel culture is kind of, like, I wouldn't say over. Like, I don't hear about it, like, at all anymore the last, like, year or two, thankfully. It's so annoying. Just, like, so much drama. Like, okay, there's so much drama online. Like, everyone's just, like force-feeding each other this, like, stupid drama. Like, what's the point of, like, going online and just, like, seeing stuff that makes you mad? Like, oh, I'm gonna subscribe to this news channel because I get news about this war that makes me mad, and now I can go, like, bug people at the store because it makes me mad. It's like, why do you worry about things you can't control? This is so stupid. Like, I'm not saying that you can't, like, I'm not saying to ignore everything in the world, because that's just ridiculous. Like, you can't do that. But, like, why would you set yourself up to just get stuck in this loop of, like, force-feeding yourself, like, things that don't help you? I think that's also why I didn't like drinking either. Like, in terms of, like, being worried about trying it, is, like, why would I want to get used to drinking? Like, it doesn't help with anything. Like, I'm already socially awkward. Like, why would I want to need to use alcohol in order to do it? If I could just fix being socially awkward with people regardless, then I won't need alcohol to talk to people in the first place, or to be honest, or to feel my own opinions, or, like, I'm also realizing it feels so much better to just feel yourself. That sounds weird. Like, if you just listen to your, like, own opinions and things, that feels so much better than ignoring them. Like, now I'm starting to see, like, what does it matter whether other people listen to your opinions? It doesn't matter. Just get them out. Then you can, like, move on and, like, work on something else. And I just don't get why people are, like, so mad at everything. Like, just let it go and, like, stop worrying about it. That's absolutely easier said than done. I'm not saying it's not. But, like, where's that underlying, like, of just being truthful to yourself? Like, I feel bad that people can't have that for themselves nowadays. And I don't even mean nowadays. Like, I think it's always been like that. If anything, like, not to be like, oh, every generation has it, like, worse or better than the other, but, like, it seems like people are more self-aware, like, my age nowadays. Like, it's like, oh, I'm gonna be mindful today, and I'm gonna, like, give myself, like, a recovery day. Or, like, oh, I'm gonna have fun today because I worked harder. Like, it seems like that hasn't been as much of a thing for people, where they're like, oh, I'm gonna be nice to myself today. Like, I don't know. Well, I don't know. I'm gonna stop counting myself with I don't know. It's very annoying. I don't know. I'm kidding. I've been learning things that I need to do, or I found the next step that I need to take is the thing that I don't want to do. And I'm learning that it's either based on, like, fear, or just, like, misunderstanding, or personal bias towards it, or against it, rather. It's like, oh, I don't want to try that new food. It's like, if it's not going to kill you, why not? Does that make sense? Like, you only get to taste the food and whether you like it or not, once. But saying no to it over and over and over is more painful. I think this is also why I tried drinking after all, because I knew that if I didn't try it, then I'd have to deal with having not drank, which is worse. So you kind of have to let go of that, like, preconceived notion that, like, something will happen. Because maybe it will, maybe it won't, but you have to find out. That's the whole point. I don't know if it's like, I was gonna say, like, I don't know if it's the intent of life to be lived that way, but it seems like for me that's helping move quicker with new things to try. Like, I don't have to worry about whether it will work or not. That's exactly what you will find out by trying it. Because then you will actually know, rather than like just guessing whether it would work or not. And I think Devin has also brought this up, where the biggest thing that you can have for success is learning how to fail successfully. Maybe I put that into fancier words because I didn't mean to use success that much, but like, yeah, the biggest thing to success is learning how to fail successfully. I actually really like that. Oh, okay. I'll have to make like a lyric or a concept of that. And maybe that's also what led Elkosaurus. And, oh, that's right. Yeah. Because I remember I was thinking, like, if I don't know how to make music, I gotta learn how to make music really bad. Because if you think you're gonna learn how to make a really good song, you should also know how to make a really bad song. Because it kind of should go both ways, if that makes any sense. Like, if you think you can make a really good song, that would implicitly have to mean that you would have to know how to make a really bad song. Or things like that. Yeah. Well, there's a bird over there. Hi, bird. Is he gonna talk? No, he didn't talk. Let's see. What time are we at? Okay, wow, I've been talking for a while, bro. Bro! I know I'm still recording. I know this is gross, but reset the mental brain a little bit right there. Yeah, I started learning Rust programming the other day, or maybe like 2 months ago. And I use Arch, by the way. No, I don't. I use macOS. Yeah, it's crazy because I thought JavaScript was like the fundamental language for me. I was like, oh, I know other people don't like it, but it works really well for what I do. And then I was like, okay, I guess I'll finally try Rust. And then I had to not physically, but I had to like specifically set aside my preconceived notions with everything I had learned in JavaScript. Doing that was a total new concept for me, because I kind of had realized, I was like, wait, I'm trying to program Rust like I am JavaScript, and that's what's holding me back. Once I had realized that, it had become so much easier. But you have to realize what's holding you back in order to get over it. Same with, if you haven't learned how to be emotional, you have to learn, like, oh, maybe that's just the people that I know, they're like that, so I got that from them. Or maybe it's felt uncomfortable to do that, so you've learned how to not do that because it keeps you from feeling bad. Like, if you're emotional and then it feels bad after having done that, you're not going to want to do it again. But you have to learn, like, that's just your response to that. It's kind of like it's like an allergy, which I'm allergic to tree nuts. It's not like you can, like, learn to not be allergic. I'll have to look into that, but, like, you think when you don't want to do something, or if you don't want to feel a certain way, it's almost like you think you're allergic to it. But you're not. It's just a learned behavior. So once you realize that, then you decide what you want to do with that information. And for me, that was whatever, that kind of correlates to whatever I don't want to do, that's exactly what I need to do. And I don't mean that in the way of like, oh, they're offering me drugs, I don't want to do them, I guess I'll do drugs. That's not like what I mean. It's more like, I don't want to clean my room because it gives me anxiety. It's like, well, your room needs to get cleaned, and it will make you feel better when it is cleaned. And I know it's hard to get over that because it gives you anxiety, like, oh, I need to reorganize my closet, the drawers of my dresser, like, oh, I need to donate some things, like my old computer. Like, there's just so much that piles up, and like, for me, that's what prevented me wanting to keep my room nice and clean. Like, I really do value having like a clean area, but if I just see so many problems everywhere, I start to like fixate on all of them, and then I'm like, oh, I can't get all of this done, like this is just gonna be a mess, and I just get frustrated that I can't do everything all at once. And I think that underlying cause is present through a lot of my functions as a person, which I'm now trying to like recognize more in more places. Like, I was working on some code yesterday, and like it wasn't working out, and then I had to go eat dinner, and I was just like so stuck and focused on how I could focus it that I wasn't really like present for dinner. And they're like, oh, are you sleepy? And I'm like, no, I'm just kind of like really stuck in my brain, like trying to figure it out. And I found like I really am trying to work on and learn how to change off between doing different tasks, because it's not healthy for me to fixate on it, because I tend to do that a lot, where I'll just get so deep into working on it that I'll just want to finish the whole thing or do it like perfectly. Even though I know logistically there is no perfect way to do it, I'm like, oh, I'll at least get a little bit closer. Like, you can always at least try to get a little bit more. But sometimes you just have to call it. Like, whether that's like releasing the album, or finishing working on it for that day, or being done with the mix, or like leaving the mix for another day, or just not worrying about mastering it. Like, everything has its place. Like, if you want to move forward, you have to let go of some things, because you have to try the next new thing. You can't just ruminate on the first thing you're starting with. I do remember that, like with Alcasaurus too, going back to that it didn't sound as good as I wanted, but thankfully the goal of the album kind of allowed for that. And I think that's also kind of why I chose to do that, because I really wanted to focus on making a concise statement rather than like a perfect album. Because for me as a person back then, learning how to stand behind what you wanted to do, that's what was hard for me, as well as leaving something as it was. Like, if I wanted to make a perfect album and then it turned out crappy or something, that would just totally frustrate me. But if I was specifically making a horrible album and it turned out alright, like, that's a good thing. So I kind of use that as a vehicle to get over myself. And I think that's why it was so awesome for me, because that's exactly like how it helped me move forward. Like, I think I kind of forgot, like, music now is like super important to me, but I think sometimes I forget how important that stage in music was for me back then, like just in 2021. Now I'm in 2025. Like, learning how to do that was the biggest thing that moved me forward. And I think getting out of your comfort zone absolutely helps you grow. And I think learning how to do that has been what's helping me move forward. And sometimes, like, you're in a rut and you just have to like make things. You're like, oh, I don't want to make this, but it keeps coming out. That was kind of what happened like 6 months ago. And I think it's okay to just make what you make while you make it, to some extent. Like, if you're bored of making it, that's when you change things. But like, if you're trying to make something that you can't, you're using expectations rather than your current abilities. And I've been trying to learn how to make music without having expectations, because that's what I've been having trouble with, is you don't want to expect what it should be before it's done. Like, I might jump forward a little bit. Let me see. So Many Bad Decisions, the album, that was also a big step forward for me, because I just recorded as I went, and then I had to change up how my mind worked a little bit. I only picked for what I wanted to be the concise album. The project before that, Catastrophic Failure as a Human Being, which is kind of how I was feeling sometimes. I remember for that project, I was like, I'm going to try and include everything in this project again. And I think it completely, at least for me, brought that project to its knees, like, in a bad way. Like, it's so big and like it's like disgusting, but not to be funny. Like, there's a bunch of songs I love in there, but it's just like crowded with just like junk. It's like, it's all just like half baked, and like the riffs are cool, and I'm glad that I did it that way, but I absolutely learned why it wasn't working. So I don't regret doing it. I'm glad that I did it. It's just, I needed to find out what wasn't working. That was for Catastrophic Failure as a Human Being. Like, I'd recorded so many songs, and it was all over the place. And it was just like, each song was like kind of meh, done. There was just like so much going on. It was just like too big. And it wasn't fun to listen to. Like, there's a bunch of cool songs on there, but like, you can't listen to it. But for So Many Bad Decisions, I was like, I want to make, like, I want it to work as an album. And I think that was like the first time, at least in a while, that I had like done that, you know? Because other projects, it was like, I had kind of started to gravitate. Okay, I guess I'm back into music again. I'd say maybe from Electrocapacitorator. Well, I guess 2022 to 2023, like early 2023, I kind of would just like make, and then see if I could like extrapolate things from that. And that was like the whole concept. Like, that's what I wanted to do. And it didn't seem like that totally worked. Because if you don't have an initial goal, it makes it harder to figure out what that statement is. At least, like, if you don't have guidelines for the creation of it, it makes it harder to see what you're actually doing. Like, regardless of like the music being out there or like wacky, like, if the album doesn't know what it is, then it's hard to listen to. Because, like, if it knows that it's wacky, that's one thing. But if it thinks that it's, like, metal, and it thinks it's, like, crazy out there, and then also, like, the songs are really long, or just, like, not mixed very well, but then some are mixed well, like, it's just too much. It would be one thing if that was the goal, but for me, at that time, that wasn't. It was specifically to learn how to construct projects, if that makes sense. Because for Alkasaurus, going back to that, I specifically wanted to, like, the vision was the goal. If the album wasn't that good, that's okay, because that's what the goal was. Unless it was, like, boring to listen to. That was, like, the only constraint I had on it. For Flatlands, it naturally was just more regular songs. Okay, I guess I'm into albums again. Okay. What are we doing on time? Okay, let's keep going. I'm just going to brush this out. For Flatlands, the songs were naturally becoming more normal and, like, relatively. I was kind of just, like, experimenting with different sounds and I was like, oh, I want this kind of aesthetic where it's like gaming. Like, I eventually want to use that for my game Flatlands. That's why I called it that, because it seemed like it worked stylistically with how the game looks and how the album sounds. That album suffers from lack of song removal and sequencing, though, because remember how I mentioned before that the process is what makes the music interesting for me in terms of like creating it? That was more important to me in the result of the albums back then than it was for the album being listenable. Nowadays, I'm starting to learn, for me, it's important also to be listenable, but back then it wasn't. It was kind of like, I want this album to be a statement of how I was writing music back then. That's what music was like for me during like just the early albums. So there's a bunch of songs now that I would not keep on Flatlands, but because of when I made it, that's what the goal was back then, where I wanted it to be a full picture of me back then, to some extent. And having all those like incomplete works, that's what made the complete picture for what that was meant to represent. And so say something like Swamp Song, Dust of Ghosts Gone By, My Song 103, I guess Trestle Talk maybe even Ryan Beeline, like, or Marius. It's just like too much, like it takes away from like what makes it a cool album to listen to, because that wasn't the goal back then. Okay, so that's it for Flatlands. It was kind of like a simple thing in concept. The mid-ranges, that was after Flatlands. It was kind of the tail end of Flatlands, if I remember right. Maybe it was a different project folder, but I was going back into like just creating, like specifically like the goal of not having limitations on it. And I was like, oh, it might be funny, it might be like crazy. So that one is okay to be wild, because that's exactly what I wanted from that. That one is cool. It's not very listenable because I don't go back to it much. But creating wise, it's exactly what it was. And then I was like, okay, I'm kind of bored of this. Like by the end of that, I was like, okay, I don't have much left in the tank for that. So then I got to 3 Ways. Let me see. Okay, we're doing good on time. We're recording a lot, dang. Like for this podcast, I mean. 3 Ways to Sunday. The goal for this was specifically to have like a straightforward album. I wanted to have like a guitar. I had never done something like this before. Like, it was also my first album in a way, kind of like Alcasaurus, kind of like Septum Numero. Like, even though I have plenty of albums at this point, it was my first of its kind. And it was kind of like my first statement of like a regular one. It did have some like lack of goals though. Like, it's kind of like low energy. It has a cool vibe. But I think it was just lack of experience at that point. Like, the only reason there's lack of expectations for how it should sound is because I didn't have the experience to record to satisfy those expectations. So why would you set expectations for yourself of things that you know at the time aren't able to achieve? Like, you should be able to grow your expectations along with what you can do. So that's kind of what I've been up to as well. That you want to create what you can create rather than just get stuck in something that you can't create. And Taylor's Creek was a really good one for me. I really like that. Booger Something, that one's cool. Trucker's Paradise was kind of similar to some of the demos from 2018, 2019 on guitar. Same with like, I think Cameo Corrosion was kind of like that too, where it's like, I just jam out a thing on guitar and improvise other parts on top of that. that was like this was the first album that I had done that in like song form. Because I had done like demos of that prior to this, but I had never done like a guitar-centric project. Even though I love listening to guitar. That's what's so funny to me. Is like, none of my projects up until that point had like any guitar. At least to the level of stuff that I do now. Like, now I do like a lot more metal and like jazz and just like reverb and like all over the place. Like whatever it is. But like back then I didn't do specific things to kind of what I like to listen to. It was just whatever I made. So this was like a specific thing, like I'm going to make something similar to what I like to listen to. And like whether or not I could accomplish that, that's another thing. Like I will have to learn how to do that. Electrocapacitor, kind of a similar thing to the previous album, but it was allowed to be like more weird and more soundscapey, I guess. And there's a bunch of cool little inspirations there. Like Imperative, it seems very Satriani-like to me. Eligora Polygosis, very metal. I was like, oh, I haven't done like a metal song. Like at least since like Raised to Conflict or something. And there's still like a few like random demos in there, like Masked Dinosaur, where it kind of just sounds like Allosaurus. Like that was still like fun to make that kind of thing. That's kind of why I was still mixed up with all that guitar stuff. And then it was kind of like more experimenting, like going back to like Septum Numero, Iguana Sunshine, Electrocapacitor. The experience of listening and creating to it, that's what the goal of the song was. Like maybe it's not normal or musical. Carolyn and Imperative, those are like more songs. And the other two that I just mentioned, those are meant to be like experiences. Abundance, that was kind of I was trying to do like improvisation, I guess. That one I really like. Looking back on it, it's not as good as I liked it. Or it's not as good as I thought it was. I was really proud of that one, but it definitely paved the way for what would come later. That's a lot of... I knew I needed to make a lot of things that would pave way to what I would eventually lead to. Reserved A, that was a really cool project. Kind of like Capacitor. I wanted to bring like more proggy or like metal-ish kind of things into my writing, into that same guitar-centric soundscape. A Sight to Behold, I kind of just had like this random few ideas that turned into something that I didn't expect. And that kind of paved the way for like the things that I started to write after that. This album also very much suffers from bloating song structures and lack of like trimming extra songs, because once again the album was about what I was writing at the time and like my experience of that. So removing some of the songs would remove the point of why I was doing it, because it was meant to express me at that time. Because I hadn't gotten comfortable with like making a concise album without it being the whole picture. It was like, oh, kind of like how you post stuff on social media and it's not just you, like you for you. It's like, oh, I gotta have like this makeup on, I gotta add a filter. Like, I think that's why I didn't want to trim albums, because it felt uncomfortable that I would be removing things that was the whole picture. Now I'm starting to get more comfortable with that, and I'm starting to do that with my mixes, with my song sequencing, like that kind of thing. Like at the time, for all of my albums and work, like I had trouble removing songs, and I didn't want to change the sequencing from how I had written them, because a lot of times I would write songs based on how the previous song was, or how it would flow to the next one. And even if the song wasn't good, like that context is what mattered to me. That's what made it interesting to me for the album. Like, that's what made it hard to listen to, though, which I'm now okay with, like moving on from. That it's more important to have a listenable album, at least now for me, than it is to fully encompass the thing. Streetlight, that was a good one too. I was like, I want to have something more straightforward. I was definitely bummed with how bloated A Sight to Behold was, because the songs in there I loved, but like some of the mixes were like a little bit too meh. But I also didn't know how to mix back then too well. But I was like, I'm gonna make more concise songs because I only want to include ones that I think make a concise album. But I also didn't remove that many of the extras, you know what I mean? So I really focused on writing songs that I thought would make a concise album, rather than removing the ones that didn't. Because this one was like specifically, I only wrote songs that I thought would make sense. Some of them didn't finish, like What? I think that's how I pronounce it. That one I really like, but it kind of just like, I lost steam for it. Like, I didn't want to focus on making it a perfect song and like continuing it. I was like, oh, I'm happy with what it is, because that's what I was able to accomplish. I really liked where it was going, but I knew it was, once again, paving forward for what would later become. Rausild, that one was kind of like a cool metaphor where it was like red herring. The song was like a red herring. Planes was kind of inspired by Rush, more just because of how I improvised it. Gotta get ready soon. I think we're at like 2 hours almost. How loud is that? I hope it's not too loud. Yeah, I kind of just started like trying making more like digestible songs. Still like all over the place, because like I didn't know how to tame my writing, you know what I mean? Like, same with like my execution of that. Like, that's what needed work. Moving on to Laboratory, I was like, okay, I'm gonna go continue with this guitar structured album, but I'm gonna make it heavier and like more experimental. That's what Laboratory was. I was like, okay, I'm gonna try the drum set, because I had never really done drums. Like, I had gone to a drum class during elementary school, and my dad's a drummer, and like I had drummed a little bit, but I wasn't a drummer like I was a guitar player. It's a little bit better now, but it's still like maybe now it's one of my main staples, but it's not like I'm practicing or anything like that. I'm just doing what I need to do. Back then it was just like getting into it. I was like, oh, I want to play the solo for it. So that's what the Laboratory song was. It was like, that's the name of the module kit, the kit on the module, and it seemed like it made sense for the album. I kind of wanted to have like more playful fun with the guitar album concept, so I wanted it to be listenable, but still be playful, and have like a lot of different, I wanted to try things. And it was heavily influenced too, because like the Raison d'Etreda, that was like a reference to, I found Illegal Aliens, Demiurges of Planklengthville. A lot of the songs like has specific sound, and I was like, oh, I kind of want to like reference this and be like a cool little nod to it. So on that album, there's a part 1 and part 2, and then I recorded like my third part, and then I ended up like soloing and doing that kind of stuff, and there was like little like neat little references, just like I kind of wanted to like give a nod to it, and then it turned into its own thing. I could deep dive into more of these, but Scary House, we're getting into like bigger things now, so I might call it here just because there's a lot going on. I really started to bring up my intent around Scary House. Like, I want it to be a specific kind of album. It still suffers from being too long in some parts. Like, I think which one is it? Fast Road and probably Off the Shelf. They're a bit too long. The execution of Devious Hertfordshire is all over the place just because of the delay that you get when you record parts with like your iRig. I didn't have an iPad yet, nor a MacBook. I was recording all of this on my iPhone 12 mini with an iRig from like 2015 or 2016. That's mind-blowing to me. Like, I don't know if I mentioned that. Like, I wasn't going to let the limitations of my tools limit me from creating. Like, Made in America to Raised to Conflict, essentially, that was like when I had my iPhone 5. Oh, wait. Made in America, Ultimate Chaos, maybe just those two. Those were on my iPhone 5C. Maybe Septum Numero, Spectrum, Distant Utopia, Raised to Conflict. I think those were on my iPhone SE, the first generation, so it was 64 gigabyte. That was a big upgrade for me. 8 gigabyte to 64 gigabyte. Now I'm on 128 gigabytes, so it's easier to record and stuff like that. But from Alkasource Text until Scary House, those were all 12 of those projects were recorded on my iPhone 12 mini with GarageBand, be it with just tapping out the synths, the drums, or using iRig with the lightning adapter to plug that in with my guitar. So I was recording line out from my line 6 amp, putting that into my iRig, into the lightning dongle, into my iPhone, which was recording with GarageBand iOS, and then bouncing that to M4A files. That's what was going on. Thankfully, when I started exporting these to Bandcamp, from Flatlands onward, I started using Wave, but Alkasource and Corruption Junction, those are still lossy, which is unfortunate, but that's okay, because those projects are what they are. But yeah, so that was interesting too, that I did all that on my phone. I think that's what made it fun too, because I would, like for Flatlands, some of the songs I made in the car, like while I was leaving school at Grossmont. I think that was Other Tales of Woe, that might have been one that I did in the car. I don't remember for sure. Ego Rock, I know I did in the car, and then I recorded the guitar at home. That was kind of inspired by Symphony X. Just because I was listening to that. A lot of stuff is inspired by what I'm listening to currently. Yeah, end of summer, that's when I got my iPad mini. And I recorded on my iPad mini up until everything that I've been releasing so far. So, like, I just released Harry. That was done on my iPad. I bounced it to lossless. And, so, yeah, everything's been on my iPad since about end of summer. But, yeah, I'll have to continue this later, though, because this is getting pretty long. This was so good to get going. I'm just going to keep doing these podcasts whenever it feels right. I found this video, or YouTube channel online. Oh, there's 2 doves in a tree that I've been looking at that I haven't even thought about. But they've been here for like an hour. They're just like preening. This guy keeps going up and down the hill on his mountain bike. I don't know what he's doing. I don't remember what I was talking about. Oh, it's been really good talking like this. I'm probably going to do it more. Following the YouTube channel that I found, like, I'm going to do things as I feel like I need to do them. Not because I'm lazy but I don't want to rush things. Like, I don't want to do it disingenuinely. Like, I don't want to just make a podcast because, like, I'm supposed to. Or make music because I'm supposed to. Like, I know there's things that you're supposed to do. But if it's something that you want to do, you shouldn't be forcing yourself to do it just because you want to move it forward. Like, I woke up today and I wanted to do this because I feel like I've been holding in a lot of this stuff that I need to get out. Like, I've wanted to communicate it or talk with somebody, but it just hasn't found its way out yet. And because of that, like, I'm just ready to, like, let it go. Like, talk about it, or, like, I haven't met people that have similar interests. I need to, like, communicate everything that's working out. Like, whether or not people listen to it, that's one thing, but, like, I have to move on, you know what I mean? Like, you have to go to the next thing, and just like I've been talking about. If somehow you were listening to this and it was interesting, I'm glad. This was very helpful for me as well. If you ever want to, whoever you are, if you ever want to record music, I'm happy to do creative endeavors, whether it's like helping for your goal of your project, or it's helping goal of my project, or if we jam together and come up with something that we couldn't have come up with on our own. That sounds really cool. Yeah. So, I hope everything's going well, as Devin would say. I didn't mean to comment just like him, but that's kind of what I was thinking too. Like, things are good if you let them be good. Things are bad if you make them bad. Be nice to yourself. You're much stronger than you think you are. Never stop laughing at fart jokes. I'm gonna have some more pretzels. Alright, this has been fun. See ya.